Hey everyone, welcome to Isla La Pacífica, which is going to be a Caribbean style island. And this island also marks the start of the side project that I've teased for I think 2 weeks now. So Isla La Pacífica, I can already say, is not going to be a realistic zoo. It's going to be a realistic island, or at least that's what I'm going to make of it. Because the entire premise of Isla Pacifica and all the other side projects that I want to do is to first off build the entire, slate or just the entire terrain. So that's why we're starting now with painting the terrain. Then later we will add all the plants because it's going to be basically a jungle island. But then I will, after finishing off, the blank slate as I call it, of the island, I will try and release it on the workshop so that you guys can basically do whatever you want to make of the island. Because that's the one thing that I would like to see in Plant Zoo and just the Plant series in overall, randomized, plots of land. Because we always get just the complete flat island, not island, but complete flat land with like a few trees dotted around, but we don't really get any like pre-built landscapes. We do get like pre-built zoos in the campaign mode and such, but I have never touched anything beyond the sandbox, so this is basically going to be building the entire island, or at least the first episode of this project is going to be, and then later on in the other following episodes I will of course build my own thing with it, but then you guys can either, build along with me, or you can do your own thing. There are plenty of ways you can go about this island, which is really the thing that I had to keep in mind, that I'm not going to, in this episode at least, not going to build it so that I can only build on it. I'm going to make sure that it basically is a free-for-all. So maybe by the time this episode goes live, because right now I'm talking into the future, these episodes are usually filmed or recorded the day before they go live, so maybe by the time that this goes live, the Isla La Pacífica will be on the workshops and you can build your own zoo on it. But by the time I'm recording this, the island is only like 3/3 of the way done, because as I said, it's going to be a jungle. It's a Caribbean style island, which basically means a lot of plants, so that actually took the biggest part of working on Isla La Pacífica, because placing all those plants, we don't have like a brush tool, so every tree, every plant that you're going to see later on is hand placed. Of course, some areas I don't pay that much attention to, but there are some areas that I paid more attention to just so that it has some few iconic spots. But this is also one thing that I continuously did. I continuously made the island smaller. Because then I thought like, I could add some smaller islands there instead of having a large beach, or I could push the beach a bit further into the island. So it continuously kept smaller. Or going, just getting smaller, I would say. But so this is going to be interesting when you guys get the zoo, or, I'm continuously going to say zoo, but I mean island, because you basically just get an empty map, or not empty, but I think you guys know by now what I mean. You get an island full of trees, you can go do with it what you want. So if you want to build a realistic zoo, you can go along with that. If you want to do whatever you want, you can do that. I was like, I think 5 seconds away from building a volcano on this island, but I did not do that because I think that would make it more Hawaiian, so I did not add that. But this island is basically just up for grabs. Or at least, I hope it is by the time this video goes live, but as I said before, a lot of trees, and all of them hand placed because we don't have a brush tool. But there are going to be a few iconic spots around the map, or just, spots that I've had a little bit more attention into building. Some areas of the island are just trees, 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 and trees. Yeah, I've gone quite insane building Isla La Pacífica just because of all the trees. I'm going to be very happy when we're going to return to Kayan al-Bashar for the next video of this week, because Kayan al-Bashar has a lot less trees. But yeah, it was a little bit different, I would say, for me, because Kayan al-Bashar and all the zoos I've built so far have been a little bit more fantasy and just, you know, going wild with creativity and not really, you know, being constricted by the real life aspect, or at least making it realistic. So this was, I think, the first time that I had to set filters of like, I only need, or I only want plants from this region, from this biome, even though I know the Caribbean has multiple climates and biomes. I specifically wanted to have like a rainforest slash jungle theme island. So yeah, you're also going to get that, just an enormous amount of plants. So I don't know if this is, well, if you can do this, but if you're going to play Isla La Pacífica with money in mind, or at least with money, you might want to find a way around those plants, because from what I know, it costs money to actually remove the plants, so you might have some, well, tricks, and, well, not tricks, but you might have to keep some things in mind when going about a jungle island. So, also, yes, I think Plant Zoo doesn't really allow for actual island maps where like the complete backdrop of the island is water. So yeah, when looking at it from just the overall view, you do see the landscape in the back. So you do basically, if you really take it into account, Isla Pacifica is basically built in a lake so far, which was annoying, and also one of the reasons why I didn't include the terraforming of the island in today's video, because I had to basically first dig out the entire map and then build up Isla La Pacifica on top of that. So yeah, it was interesting. It also took a lot of time, and Isla Pacifica was also not the first island. I had another project in mind, which I might have already said, and that was actually a Norwegian style island. So that might be the next project in this. Well, I plan to make a series of projects. So a series of projects all ranging into like Ozaru scale. So not going to be massive, like 6-7 habitats each. But yeah, before Isla La Pacifica there was a Norwegian style zoo, or at least Norwegian style island. But I dropped that because I actually don't know, I just got inspiration to build Isla La Pacifica instead of a Norwegian island. I don't know, so there's actually a Norwegian island halfway done in my game right now. Yeah, that might be again the next project, but that we will see that in, well, 2 months. Always multiply that by like 1.5, because I never really stick to deadlines that I put on myself. I mean, I already said like, oh, we're going to have 6 or 7 habitats on like Isla La Pacifica, which is probably true, because as I said, I continuously made the island smaller, so I probably won't have much space beyond that. But yeah, let's just say it might be 7 to 8 episodes of Isla Pacifica before we move on to the next mini project, as I would call it. But that might increase, because again, I don't hold myself to deadlines all that well. So here we are building actually another like iconic point, which you might want to keep if you, well, get Isla La Pacifica or build on Isla La Pacifica, and it's the waterfall, because it's not Plant Zoo without a waterfall. Yeah, I think so far I've not seen any zoo being built without a waterfall. I'm not putting any shame on others, but yeah, let's just say we love building waterfalls, and I completely agree, because they look wonderful. And here is also because I want to make it realistic, or at least I want to make Isla La Pacifica realistic. There was a little bit of like, if you have a reservoir of water with a waterfall going out of it, you also need to have like a water source going into that reservoir so that the lake on top doesn't empty out. So I either had to build another waterfall on top of this, which went out of like a mountain, but I just built a cluster of rocks and made it into like there's an underground river. But yeah, that was basically just like a small little nod to like, oh, this can be a realistic place. Probably not. I mean, the island can be realistic, but some things might not be. But yeah, again, you guys can go wild whenever I am finished with building the bare bones of Isla La Pacífica, I would say. And even though I call it like Isla La Pacífica, which basically means the peaceful island, yeah, there's not much meaning behind the name beyond peace, or just, well, I didn't say peace, but peaceful, so just a calm island, which I'm going to completely shadow with what I want to create for it. Again, I'm going to create my own thing on Isla La Pacífica, but you guys, I will probably say this millions of times in these videos, you guys can build whatever you want. You just get like a sort of pre-built or pre-generated map. Because as I said before, that's the one thing that I would like. Just to, have a random map that you can just build on with like constrictions or just things of like, oh, I need to keep these hills in mind or this forest in mind. Yeah, that's basically what I want still from Planet Zoo or just the entire Planet series. So yeah, instead of waiting for that, I'm going to build those things myself. And maybe you guys will enjoy building on Isla La Pacífica. But I probably had to, or I was probably going to watch something else before I started rambling about the, again, randomized maps that I would love. But Isla La Pacífica is not one island, or at least the map is not one island. There are actually a couple of tiny islands, I would say, off the coast of the main island. Of course, Isla La Pacífica is going to be the main island. It's the biggest island. It's probably going to be where you would want to start your zoo if you want to have like a lot of space to build. Also, well, Isla La Pacífica is never flat, so that might also be something you need to keep in mind. Because everything in some way is like either hilly or something like that. But yeah, there's small little islands off the coast, which if you build in, well, let's say franchise mode, you might want to expand towards those, although space is very limited. So I think Isla La Pacífica will never really be for like gigantic zoos. Just those Zaru scale zoos. But yeah, you might, well, this is me putting like restrictions on what you are allowed to build. But just as a challenge, I would say, you might want to keep like some iconic places like they are. At least, well, when you're building in with money, again, nature might be a little bit of trouble because well, from what I know, you have to pay again for all the trees and nature that you remove. So yeah, emptying out the entire island might be pretty costly. Although you might also, open the zoo in sandbox mode, clear out all of the nature and such, and then build whatever you want on the empty map. But it might be a challenge or a fun little challenge to try and work around all the nature. And yeah, this waterfall is probably the most iconic feature of the entire island. Maybe besides the mangrove forest that I built later on. But yeah, I just like building waterfalls. And even though I think we don't have any zoos without them right now, I still like them. Also, this was a little bit of an accident, but you might have spotted it earlier on in the video, but I forgot to put the weather off, so you had a tiny little rainstorm while I was building, which actually works in Isla La Pacífica, which was, well, making this commentary or starting this commentary was a little bit strange, because I am used to saying like welcome to Gran Albashar or welcome back to Gran Albashar, and now to say Isla La Pacífica was a little bit strange, but that's more into like making these videos than making this island. But just a fun little thing. So again, there was a little bit of an issue of like, oh, this lake is emptying out into the lower lying lake, which, well, I'm going to talk more about that, but yeah, there was a little bit of an issue of like, where does the water from this lake going into this waterfall come from? So again, there's just a little bit of rocks to the other side of the lake, which is meant to like give the idea that there's like an underground river going into this lake. And well, basically just building an entire river rapids, because why not? I just enjoy doing that. But yeah, so as I said, there is a lower lying lake which was originally meant to be a swamp. Because I don't know actually why I wanted it to be a swamp. Maybe because, well, the first idea that I had of Isla La Pacífica was to also have crocodiles, but I think all the crocodiles that we have in-game don't come from South America, or at least South Central America, or that region. I still have North America in like the filters of like all the plants. I have not used any of them actually, so I don't know why I had that for so long in the filters. Also because it didn't really add that much to like the plants. But now for the mangrove forest, because I wanted to have one of those. And here is where I discovered something, that some plants actually like salty soil. So I built some of these mangrove trees in the lakes, which can also work. There are some of these mangrove trees that actually work in lakes or, you know, unsalty water. But the majority, I think, or from what I've seen, or basically what I researched, because I haven't been to the Caribbean, but the majority are in salty soil or salty water. Although they do need like some kind of defense against like huge waves. They want some kind of tide, but not like huge wave. So it actually makes sense that off the side or off the coast of this side of Isla La Pacífica, there is a small little island which might work as like a wave breaker from like the direct ocean. So this bay, which, well, by now, again, like the island is I think 2/3 done. I still hope to have it done by the time this video airs, but otherwise it will be done before the next video the following week airs. So yeah, again, I might have said this multiple times, but mind of a goldfish here. But Isla La Pacífica and all these side projects that I want to do are going to be like one time a week. So before the next video of Isla La Pacífica airs, I hope that it is actually on the workshop. Yeah, Isla La Pacífica also marks actually the point where I could use those gigantic trees. Those gigantic jungle trees. Also, I think this is the first time that I use those tamarind trees actually as just flowers. But yeah, those gigantic jungle trees, I never thought I would use those, because as I said, they are gigantic. But they actually work in Isla La Pacífica mostly as bushes, because, well, let's just say Isla La Pacífica, every tree, everything is hand placed, because we don't have a brush, so every tree is hand placed, well, besides the mangrove forest, which sometimes is just duplicated, like I just pick up a bunch of those trees. But yeah, let's move on from that. It actually works for a mangrove forest, because they usually are just like complete like roots and all of that, so it works for the mangrove forest. But all of the other trees on Isla La Pacífica will somewhat be hand placed. Like sometimes I do, you know, copy like a little bit of the forest or a little bit of the jungle, but most of it I can't copy actually, because as I said before, Isla La Pacífica, there's no place I think that is completely flat. If there are completely flat parts, Those are usually meant to like be maybe where you start your zoo, because it's a little bit easier to build your zoo on a completely flat land. So there are small spots that are completely flat, but most of it isn't. Most of Isla La Pacífica is hilly, so it doesn't really work to copy around plants. So as I said before, most of the trees are hand placed, because yeah, it's a bit annoying when you copy a whole bunch of trees and find that half of them are flying or half of them are halfway through the ground. But yeah, I've actually really grown to love Isla La Pacífica, even though the first idea that I had for this small little project was a Norwegian style zoo. Yeah, or actually Viking style zoo. Well, I say zoo, but I never really built a zoo. Well, the idea I have for Isla La Pacífica, which you guys don't again have to stick by, you guys can do whatever, you can actually make a realistic zoo on Isla La Pacífica, but the idea I have is to build a Spanish island. I mean, Isla La Pacífica is already Spanish, so it kind of shows what I wanted to do with the island, but I will say this a million times, but you guys can do whatever you want with the island. Yeah, the next smaller project of these is probably going to include a lot less trees. And I actually have plans to build like a Californian style, well, place or area. Actually also a, what was the other thing actually? English countryside. Yeah, there were a lot of ideas before Isla La Pacífica was born. And the Norwegian island is still there, somewhere in my game, halfway done. So that might also be the next one. We will see in 3 months after Isla La Pacífica is done. But as I said, I plan to build like a Spanish style island, but you guys can do whatever you want with it. But with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope by the time this video goes live, the zoo, or actually the island, is on the workshop. But we will see, you know, building 1,000 trees, well, 10,000 trees is going to take some time. But hopefully by the, well, beginning or when the next video is uploaded, this island has to be on the workshop. That's the one deadline that I'm going to put on myself. But anyway, as I said, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you liked it. If you do, I hope to see you back for the next one. And I hope you enjoy Isla La Pacífica whenever it's going to be on the workshop. Bye bye!